Mars? I guess so. I guess so. Where did she post the Marsha Blackburn announcement? Because I'm looking for it, and I heard the ad. Here it is. Vote Marsha, the Vote Marsha account. Marsha Blackburn has like 6 Twitter accounts. She's got what Marsha says, Senator Blackburn, Vote Marsha. On her Vote Marsha account, she dropped the official announcement that she is running for governor. And again, the biggest takeaway that I had from the ad is that Marsha Blackburn is willing to load up illegal aliens on a spaceship to get them out of Tennessee. It opens with Donald Trump.
Trump is back. Yep. America is blessed, and Tennessee better than ever. I'm Marsha Blackburn. Here in the volunteer state, we always lead the way. And that's why I am announcing my candidacy for governor. Tennessee is the greatest place in the world to rear a family, make a life and a living, and together we can make our great state even better. We'll make Tennessee America's #1 job-creating, energy-producing powerhouse. Deliver a world-class education for our children by empowering parents, not the deep state. And whether it takes planes, trains, or starships, we'll deport illegal aliens.
Okay. We're going to pack a spaceship full of illegal aliens. We're going to get them the hell out of here. That's my big takeaway from the Marsha Blackburn ad. Whether it takes planes, trains, or starships, we will remove all the illegal aliens. Would you send illegal aliens to the moon? Would you send illegal aliens to Mars? You let me know. What do you think about Marsha Blackburn announcing? 615-737-9986. I'd love to get your instant reaction on it. I am going to get John Rose's reaction on it. He's coming on the show at 11:05. I'm going to support whoever the Republican is. Let's be perfectly honest. I don't really have a favorite. I'm not picking a dog in the fight. I'm just I don't know. We'll see what John Rose has to say. Maybe John Rose can win me over today in the 11 o'clock hour. Possibly. Maybe Marsha Blackburn wins me over. I don't know. I'm looking at the YouTube chat. The YouTube chat is not a fan of Marsha Blackburn. Oh, my gosh. Do you see that? Louie's producing today, by the way. Mason is a little bit under the weather. We got Joan Jones in the newsroom. The YouTube chat is very anti-Marsha Blackburn.
Yeah, they're not feeling her at all.
No, they're not. They're saying mean things. I don't know, man. People are still mad at Marsha Blackburn about the not certifying the election for Trump. I get why people are angry. I get it. Oh man, the text line's not liking it either. 1570. Marsha is a swamp creature in sheep's clothing. I don't think she's that terrible. I don't know. I've met her a couple times. She's very nice. I don't know. What do you guys think? 615-737-9986. We're going to have John Rose on at 11:05 to talk about the governor race. Looking forward to that. We're also going to have Jody Barrett on in the 10 o'clock hour. He's coming in studio, and he's got a lot of explaining to do. People are making accusations that he is very anti-Trump, bringing up comments from the past. Jody Barrett says, I'm going to come in, and I'm going to address them all. 10 o'clock hour. So I said to him, I said, man, we're coming hard and fast with this Trump stuff, so be ready. And he said, I'm ready. We're going to hear directly from Jody Barrett when it comes to the congressional race for Mark Green's seat. So looking forward to that as well. In the meantime, your phone calls, your text, 615-737-9986. What do you think about the announcement from Marsha Blackburn? Are you a fan, not a fan, undecided? Let me know. Marsha Blackburn's a reason we don't have a state income tax here. A lot of people say that she's still using that and a little bit over it. But I'm interested in what you think. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. You don't have to, don't worry about typing that out, Louie. I'll just get Brian on. Let's go to Brian. Brian, what's up, man?
Well, back when before Obamacare, you had Diane Black and Marsha Blackburn both told Tennesseans that they were not going to vote for Obamacare. And then it passed by 2 votes, and both of them voted for it. And they said, well, you just don't understand. When you get up there and when everything's presented to you, It's like, I want somebody that's going to do what they say they're going to do.
So do you think that there are any other candidates running for governor? Do you think John Rose fits that bill for you, or are you still underwhelmed?
No. Other than that, I love her to death. But
okay. Other than that, other than the fact that you can't trust her to do what she says she's going to do.
well, just that one thing. It's the only thing. Other than that, she's been great.
So you would vote for Marsha Blackburn over John Rose?
Yeah, well, yes, I would. Sometimes you just have to hold your nose on certain things. Nobody's perfect.
I feel you on that. Hey, I appreciate the call, Brian. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. Randy on the text line says, Chris, Marsha may be using Donald Trump's 4D chess moves. After all, Elon Musk will need bodies to colonize Mars. Maybe. He's gonna need some people. What would we call it? We got Alligator Alcatraz. We got. Did you hear what else is coming? The Speedway Slammer. Have you heard this? The Speedway Slammer is the next one, and I'm actually very excited about these nicknames that are coming. Kristi Noem announced the Speedway Slammer on X yesterday. This is what would you call an illegal alien prison on Mars? That's a good question. Kristi Noem yesterday on X. Coming soon to Indiana, the Speedway Slammer. Today, we're announcing a new partnership with the state of Indiana to expand detention bed space by 1,000 beds. Thanks to Governor Braun for his partnership to help remove the worst of the worst out of our country. If you are in America illegally, you could find yourself in Indiana's Speedway Slammer. Avoid arrest and self-deport now using the CBP Home app. Tom Homan is saying that he needs a lot more beds when it comes to deporting illegal aliens. Again, Marsha Blackburn said that she'd be willing to put them on a spaceship and send them out of here. Tom Homan was on Laura Ingraham last night talking about how many beds he needs.
We're not going to stop till we get 100,000 beds. We need 100,000 beds because everybody we arrest needs a bed. And that's where due process happens, right? That's where they see an immigration judge. That's when they have their hearings. So we need 100,000 beds to put people in those beds because everybody needs a bed. And they may be in that bed for several days. They may be in that bed for several months. But that's exactly what we need to have the biggest deportation operation in the history of this nation. I looked at the numbers this morning. We already got over like 300,000 removals. And considering 4 months of that was Joe Biden who wasn't doing anything, it's historic already. But with the big, beautiful bill, with more boots on the ground, more detention beds, more transportation contracts, you watch what happens in that coming year, Laura. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I love it. I'm also a huge fan of prison nicknames. I don't know if you are. Alligator Alcatraz, love it. Got a T-shirt for my birthday, big fan. Speedway Slammer, rolls off the tongue. Indiana, I love that it's on brand and on theme for the state of Indiana. I wonder what happens if we get one in Tennessee. What do we call it? Do we call it the Honky Tonk Lockdown? I like that. I like the Honky Tonk Lockdown. You could call it the Volunteer Vault. That'd be a good one. How about one that would really put the salt in your average liberal? We could put it in Memphis, and we could call it the Graceland Gulag. I just like the nicknames. I like the nicknames. Marsha Blackburn said she'd be willing to send them to outer space. Gary in Smyrna on Marsha Blackburn. What's up, Gary?
Hey, good morning. Well, I'd like to remind the voting public that Marsha Blackburn took $1.3 million from Big Pharma back when she was a congresswoman. She also had in her district the highest rate of overdose deaths in her district. If you look at her voting record, she's done pretty much nothing. But her head always pops up for photo shoots, and she always signs on to every bill everybody puts down. But what she actually does herself is pretty much nothing. Her time is come and gone. It's time to get rid of her.
Yeah. All right, man. So are you more confident that John Rose would lead the state in a better way?
I'm not sure. I don't know much about John Rose as yet. So
well, John Rose will be joining the show at 11:05, so I hope you hang out and listen to the conversation. I mean, those are the real options that we have. It's really Marsha Blackburn or John Rose at this point. So I guess out of those two choices, you would go with John Rose, even though you don't know much about him.
Absolutely, because I know all there is to know pretty much about Marsha Blackburn if you delve into her records and stuff. So
Do you think? Do you think Blackburn?
it can't get much worse.
Do you think Blackburn though would be an upgrade over Bill Lee?
No,
You don't.
I think Bill Lee has done, an okay job, not the best in the world, but
See, I think Bill Lee was awful during
hasn't-
COVID. I think this state was way too locked down for way too long. I think we should have been leading the way like a state like Florida. I think Bill Lee, and this is just my personal opinion, and I know that he has a lot of friends here. I think Bill Lee has been silent as a governor, and he could have been leading the way, a la Ron DeSantis or Governor Abbott. But it seems like under Bill Lee's leadership, we've been the little brother in Tennessee, where it's like, hey guys, wait up for us, we want to come too, and it's just it's been soft. I think Marsha has as many blemishes as people can point out about Marsha. I do think Marsha would be an upgrade over Bill Lee. And I can make the same exact argument for John Rose. I think John Rose would be an upgrade over Bill Lee. That being said, you don't think Marsha would be better than Bill Lee?
no, I really don't. I think her ties go too deep. I think people have forgotten a lot about the things that she's done in the past with Big Pharma. And, all she does is enrich herself there in Congress. She's not really helping the people of Tennessee like she goes on and on about. All these photo ops with all these different organizations and stuff. Look and see what she's done. Check her record. What she's actually put forward. Not much.
Hey, Gary, I
Not
appreciate
much at all. And she didn't have anything to do with the, state income tax either.
I think that's
a bunch of hooey.
No, I completely disagree with you on that, Gary. Completely. I mean, everything, but everything that I've heard from people that in this building were close to Phil and close to Marsha when that happened, completely disagree with you on that. I wasn't here in Tennessee when it did happen, but talking to the guys in the building, talking to people like Johnny B or people that were around when all that was going down, I completely disagree with that take. Appreciate your call, though, and appreciate your opinion. Joe in Manchester, we'll get to your call next, plus anything you want to add to the conversation, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. I'm looking at the text line. A lot of people coming up with prison ideas for illegal aliens, nicknames for Music City. The Music City Cells, the Moonshine Mecca, the Rocky Top Rock, the Tennessee Tank. How about the Copperhead Cage, says Brian. We could come up with a really good nickname for an illegal alien prison in Tennessee. Tom Homan needs beds. What would you call it? 615-737-9986. Text in your nickname for a prison in Tennessee for illegal aliens and call in if you got any thoughts on Marsha Blackburn, John Rose, and the like. We got a big show today. John Rose joining at 11:05. Jody Barrett at 10:05. Also on the way. We got to talk a little Russia. We got to talk about what happened to Big Balls. We got to talk about Big Balls. All that and more. It's the Chris Hand Show. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at Cover Nash. You know Shane Ring. I talk about him all the time. He's the best. He can make health insurance simple for you. And if you're tired of complicated health insurance that feels like a math test, confusing percentages, surprise bills, fine print that bites back, you got to talk to Shane Ring. He's going to make it simple for you. And Cover Nash has a brand new nationwide PPO plan that will give you the freedom to pick your own doctors anywhere in the U.S. with no referrals and no red tape. Listen to this. Just a $250 deductible. A flat $50 copay for any doctor, even specialists. Outpatient surgeries, a $250 copay. Hospital stays, just $1,000 total. Plus free preventative care, colonoscopies, mammograms, physicals, you name it, because it's ACA compliant. And here's the kicker. No surprise bills, no hidden fees, just real protection from real providers. And if that plan's not the perfect fit, Cover Nash has over 75 top-rated insurance companies that they work with. They'll find something that works for your budget and your needs. Call Cover Nash today, 615-465-0023. That's 615-465-0023. Cover Nash, health insurance made simple. Finally, CoverNash.com.
Coming up here, President Trump has just followed through on a promise to tariff the heck out of India. Also, we're going to hear from the victim's family after a convicted killer was put to death in Tennessee yesterday. All of that and more here at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. My name's Chris Hand. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. We're talking about the announcement from Marsha Blackburn. She's running for governor. Want to know what you think? 615-737-9986. We're going to have John Rose on later in the show at 11:05. He's also running for governor. We're going to ask him what he thinks about the announcement today. But first up, Joe in Manchester. Your thoughts on Marsha?
Well, I think Marsha would be go back to her George Bush roots, and she wasn't really a conservative to start with. She may have done some good things. She has done probably a lot of good things. I think she saw the wisdom of jumping on the Trump train, but I'm not sure that's where her heart really is in way into the conservatism. I think it's more on the left side of the Republican Party. One of the things down in Coffee County we're dealing with is trying to manage development. And, I think with John Rose's agricultural background and some things like that, hopefully he would have some better ideas for, as a longtime Tennessean, I see all these folks coming in and they're not paying what it costs in infrastructure to support what they're doing. And I think we need to be looking at things like that, and hopefully somebody like Rose would have a better chance of looking at some things like that.
Well, I appreciate the call, Joe, and I'll ask John Rose about that today, his infrastructure plans at 11:05. At the same time, while we're talking about Marsha Blackburn and John Rose, we were talking about the Speedway Slammer, Alligator Alcatraz. People are coming up with names on the text line, what we would call an illegal alien prison in Tennessee. I found my new favorite. 1570. The Tenitentiary. That's based.
Like it.
The Tenitentiary. Doesn't that sound good? Rolls off the tongue. Rolls off the tongue. If you got any ideas for what we could call an illegal alien prison here in the Music City, you let me know. 615-737-9986. The number for the text line. Matt and Brian. We'll get to your thoughts on Marsha Blackburn after the news with Joan Jones, which starts right now.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And happening just moments ago, President Trump followed through on his 50% tariff on India over India's importation of Russian oil. Just on Monday, India called that threat of higher tariffs unjustified.
India's response here, it's a pretty detailed 6-point response where they say that they began essentially importing oil from Russia because they say that supplies had been diverted to other trading partners, including the European Union.
That's ABC's Alex Prescia. Well, the state of Tennessee carried out the lethal injection execution of Byron Black yesterday morning, convicted of murdering his girlfriend, Angela Clay, and her daughters, Latoya and Lakeisha, in the 1980s. Witnesses reported that Black showed signs of distress. Relatives of his victims had their say afterward.
He never apologized, and he never admitted it, even on his dying bed, that he took it to his grave with him, and he knows he did it. And this is closure for my family. My sister and her 2 daughters can finally rest in peace.
Black's attorney said he shouldn't have been executed due to an intellectual disability. Watch for an afternoon announcement from the Oval Office today as Apple's CEO Tim Cook announces a new $100 billion investment commitment to the U.S. Apple calls it a new American manufacturing program, and it brings Apple's total investment over the next 4 years in America to $600 billion. Right now, the Dow Jones Industrial is trading down 70, the NASDAQ up 56. We've got the S&P gaining 9. That's the latest news. Weather's up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 9:37, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. You can keep up with me anywhere. True Social, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. All of them are the same. At Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. TikTok, I don't know. I begrudgingly joined TikTok. Just need another place to put content. So we did TikTok. It was that or Facebook, and I couldn't bring myself to join another Mark Zuckerberg platform. So I did TikTok instead. Feel pretty lame doing it. Not gonna lie to you. Feel really lame. I'm gonna do it till I get kicked off. I think I got about 6 months until I say something outlandish where I'm removed. So follow me in the meantime at Chris Hand on air. Matt in Smyrna wants to talk about Marsha. What's up, Matt?
Hey, Chris, love your show. Before you showed up, it was the most disgusting display of the elitist ruling class ever, and Marsha was a part of it. The governor tried to become a congressman. Congressman Blackburn, tried to become senator, and she's the only one that won. And Diane Black tried to become the governor. It was just ridiculous.
What was ridiculous?
I don't have an alternative.
What was ridiculous about it?
They just think they're the only ones that can rule Tennessee. Like the governor tried to become the congressperson. The congressperson tried to become the senator, and the senator tried to become the governor. Like they're the only ones that can do it. And they've all got the politics, so they've got that Washington, D.C. money where people can't compete.
But are they not allowed to do that?
They were all awful. It's one of those things like if you ask people, what do you think of Congress and, the Senate, that's like 7% positive. But when you ask them about theirs, they're like, oh, they're great. I don't know. I think the money can buy those mismatched numbers.
So what would your alternative be? Are you more of a John Rose guy over a Marsha Blackburn?
I haven't looked into them enough to know either. I want Glenn Jenkins to give up that deal for Marshall Blackburn, and we want the Undertaker.
It doesn't look like Glenn Jacobs is going to be running. He's going to be the treasurer for Marsha Blackburn. And then it looks like there's probably a deal somewhere where he's going to be appointed to the senator. That's the rumors around. I don't know how true the rumors are. I'm just hearing the rumors.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, that would be, but that wouldn't be a negative development if Glenn Jacobs became a senator here. I think that would be rather positive, don't you?
Absolutely. I just want him to get some state level executive experience. And if he kills it like some of the greats, then we can get him up into D.C.
All right. Well,
we see what a non-politician has done for this country, and it's amazing. Well, let's get another non-politician up there.
Well, I mean, we thought we were having a non-politician with Governor Lee. Do you think he did a good job?
Yeah. He did a good job about 3 days after DeSantis did a good job. I knew what Bill Lee's stance was usually about 3 days after I knew what DeSantis' stance was.
That's been my biggest problem with him. It's like the little brother. Sure. Hey guys, wait up for me. Yep. Wait up for me. It's
absolutely.
It bugs me. Hey Matt, I appreciate the call, man. I appreciate you listening. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the show. We're talking about Marsha Blackburn. We're talking about John Rose. John Rose will be joining the show at 11:05. We're also going to talk a little Russia here in a moment, but real quick, let's go to Wayne in Nashville. What's up, Wayne?
Hey, Wayne, I'm old enough to remember Marsha Blackburn when all the insurrection went down, so-called insurrection. She was the first one to get on board with Mike Pence and call Trump out. And also, I remember when Joe Biden had his first State of the Union, she was one of the first ones to come across the aisle and make sure she shook that man's hand. Now, I know politics is a dirty game, but she's very she makes decisions to where it's what's going to benefit her. And I'm not saying the lady's a bad lady. I'm just simply stating facts. I mean, she's.
But I mean, as far as shaking Joe Biden's hand, I mean, there was a State of the Union address where we saw Burchett and Ogles talking to Joe Biden as he walks in. Does that mean that they're not good too?
No, that's fair. I mean,
Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I think it was Burchett or it was Ogles. They said they were trying to slow him down, and they started asking about ice cream. Like, we don't really know what the conversation is about as we're just looking through the TV screen. She might have shook his hand and said, "You're doing a terrible job." Like, we have no idea.
That's true. That's fair. So,
I'm just playing devil's advocate, Wayne. Would you vote for John Rose over Marsha Blackburn?
I would. I think he would be the better candidate.
Is that based off of your feelings for John Rose or based off your feelings for Marsha Blackburn?
No, that's based off of John Rose, his experience and his voting record. So that's who I would go with.
Where are the clear-cut ways that John Rose is better than Marsha Blackburn? And I'm not trying to get you in a gotcha. I'm just curious on your opinion.
I think he's more conservative. I really do. I think he's got better ideas for the state of Tennessee than Marsha would. I think that if she does become governor, it's going to be it's going to be what's best for her. And she's made a good living. She's made millions of dollars being in politics. So and I realize it's a give and take, but man, she's a politician, and let's not forget that.
No, I'm not knocking that. I think you're absolutely right. Do you think that if Marsha Blackburn became governor, she would be an upgrade over Bill Lee?
No, I do not.
Oh, it's a hot take. I appreciate the call, Wayne. Thanks so much, man. Let's go to Brian in Williamson County. What's up, Brian?
Hey, good morning. How are you, Chris?
Good. Give me your take. What are you thinking?
Man, I'll tell you, I'm a county commissioner here in Williamson County, and I've known Marsha a long time, and nothing gets us more excited here in Williamson County than Marsha running for governor. She has been a fearless champion for conservative values, and she's got a bold vision for Tennessee. She's going to make our state the #1 job-creating, energy-producing powerhouse. She's going to empower parents, protect our kids in education, uphold life.
Brian, you said you're a county commissioner in Williamson?
You got it.
Hey, I love you, man. I'm not knocking your gig, but you're hitting me with talking points, and I really kind of want to just give it to the people right now. Appreciate the call, though. Let's go to Michelle in Clarksville. What's up, Michelle? What do you think?
Hey, so I am on Marsha Blackburn because she's already putting the information out on what she stands for, that she's about educating our state, and that she is about securing our people, and she's talking about things that we understand and have heard from her for years. So we're not hearing anything from anybody else.
So you're down for Marsha over John Rose?
Oh yeah, Marsha, I'm comfortable with her because I have heard more of her topics and what she wants to do to serve the community.
All right. Hey, I appreciate the call, Michelle. Thank you so much. Let's go to Wayne in Nashville. What's up, Wayne?
Hey, how you doing this morning?
Good, man. How you?
Hanging in there. I just got on. I hear you guys are talking, about Marsha Blackburn's run. I've met her a couple of times. I think she's very nice. I think she's done a lot of great things for Tennessee. She's been involved in the community. But, she's going to be running against John Rose in the primaries, obviously, now, since he's got his hat in.
Yep.
And I would just like to say, as a veteran, I met with John Rose several years ago before I was coming up on my retirement, and I'd asked him about an issue with Guard members, because I was a member of the Guard, being able to carry forward their health benefits.
Okay.
After retiring, because Guard, you don't get to collect your retirement and your benefits until after age 60.
Got you.
In most cases. And I was on TRICARE. I'd been using that as my primary insurance for years, being in the active duty Guard. When I retired, I would lose that. And I could either do the COBRA or I had to find my own health care.
Right.
And of course, I could use the VA as well.
Yeah. So you bring this up to John Rose, and what's his reaction?
Well, I spoke with John. We had a nice meeting over here in Sumner County, and it was, oh yeah, we'll look into this. What can we do to, for other veterans and Guard members that's been their primary insurance for years. Because some of us are self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
We have our own businesses, and that health care benefit from the Guard was great. Well, I lost it, so then I had to go out on the market, and it was very expensive for me and my wife. But I'll be honest with you, I have never heard back from John Rose on what he did, intended to do, or attempted to do to help the veterans out on that issue. It's been silent, and I actually have seen him a couple of times and asked him since then, hey, what's going on, and I didn't really get a good response, and so I mean, as a veteran, and with veteran benefits being a big thing, for our politicians, how you support the veterans, and we're such a large community, I would think that would be a very important aspect to look at. Now,
that's definitely something I'll bring up to him. I mean, I wonder what, he can probably do something as a congressman, but because it's a nationwide issue, I don't know what you could do as a governor. And
I understand it, but what I'm saying is that as a representative in Congress for us, and representing the people here in Middle Tennessee or in the state of Tennessee, and representing, veterans federally, I never heard back from him. Now, I never addressed that with Marsha Blackburn.
Okay.
So there's no comparison there. There's no comparison. But he was my state representative. And
he never got back to you.
And he never got back to me.
Well, and I can understand why that would leave you salty, Wayne. I really do. I think that people would feel that way with any elected official. And I appreciate the call, and I appreciate the perspective, and I appreciate your service. Let's go to Daniel on the road. What's up, Dan?
Hey, what's going on, man? So I cannot get behind Marsha Blackburn, particularly because of what happened a few years ago on this very radio station. Brian Wilson was in the morning. It was the 21 Senate session or state election session, and we were passing permitless carry. She refused, even when cornered, to say, hey, this is not a 100% constitutional permitless carry. This is 95% of what we wanted. But she refused to back down and say, no, this is exactly what the people wanted. This is 100%. Even though it wasn't. That's not what got passed in the legislature. So I'm sorry, she couldn't be honest on a state issue then. What makes me think she's going to be honest on a state issue now?
Yeah. Hey, I understand that kind of frustration, Dan, and I appreciate your insight. 615-737-9986 if you want to weigh in on the conversation. We're talking about Marsha Blackburn, her announcement this morning. Somebody's mad at me that I hung up on the Williamson County Commissioner. I'm sorry. I got Chris, you're a jerk, ! Sorry. I just want to give it to you guys. I understand that these county commissioners are going to say nice things about these people, and that's great. I just don't want talking points. I want actual voices from people on the ground, not people in positions of power. I have nothing against the guy from Wayne County. I don't know him, but I'd rather talk to you guys. Corey in Columbia, your thoughts on Marsha Blackburn? Got about 30 seconds, Corey.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to call and say that I like Marsha. I think she's been great. She's on Fox News all the time, and I like what she has to say. And it seems like she is Donald Trump's strongest ally, one of the strongest allies up there, and she's doing good things and helping Trump pass his agenda, which is what I voted for in November. And I like what she has to do, especially with the big beautiful bill and the AI thing that she killed. And I really just wanted to call and say that I am a big fan.
Hey, well, I appreciate your opinion on the conversation, Corey. Thanks so much. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the conversation. Again, we got Jody Barrett coming in at 10:05. I think it's 10:05. Might be 10:35. To be perfectly honest with you, we run a loose ship here. So I don't know. I can't remember what I told him. But Jody Barrett's going to be in the studio in the 10 o'clock hour. He's running for Mark Green's congressional seat. He's been getting a lot of heat. He's anti-Trump is what people want to say. We're going to have Jody address this directly in the 10 o'clock hour. And then at 11:05, John Rose is going to be calling into the show to address his new opponent in the primary. It's going to be a good conversation. Looking forward to it. 9:53. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Marsha Blackburn wants to become your next governor. You can hear part of her announcement in just a moment. Also, a change of plans for one local car manufacturing plant. And this one is a good news story. It's coming up here at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. My name's Chris Hand. The show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners. That's betterwater.com. Joan, I'm starting a new segment.
Oh, what is it?
I'm titling it "Come at Me, Bro." And what we're going to do is anytime we get a politician in here that wants to have the fine people of Tennessee elect them to an office, they're going to have to answer calls from the people.
Oh, I like it.
It's called Come At Me, Bro. We're going to have our first edition of Come At Me, Bro with one Jody Barrett after the news with Joan Jones. And then we'll have our second edition of Come At Me, Bro with John Rose. He's going to be joining us in studio in the 11 o'clock hour. It's gonna get real spicy here, real fast. Hang out with us. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Couple of accidents, one on Hillsborough Pike and Green Hills. This one's right at I-440. And then in Donaldson, Briley Parkway, the northbound side, a crash takes out the right shoulder at Elm Hill Pike. That's exit 7. Well, it is official. Tennessee U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn made her future political wishes known just this morning.
Always lead the way. And that's why I am announcing my candidacy for governor. Tennessee is the greatest
Now,
place.
Politico calls her a formidable candidate who would become the first female governor of the state. She'll go up against Republican Congressman John Rose in the primary. You'll want to keep it here on WTN and on YouTube. Rose will be here in the studio with Chris Hand at 11:05 this morning. A brutal beating of a man in Washington, D.C. has the attention of Elon Musk and President Donald Trump.
A D.C. police report says the incident happened Sunday morning around 3 a.m. Officers said they saw a group of about 10 teens surrounding a vehicle, assaulting a man who said he was protecting his girlfriend. As police approached, the young assailants took off on foot. 2 were arrested. The victim was identified as 19-year-old Edward Korestein, who was a top Doge staffer when the effort was led by Elon Musk. President Trump posted a picture of the bloodied man as he vowed to take federal control of the city if D.C. doesn't, quote, get its act together and quickly.
That's ABC's Stephen Portnoy. Elon Musk tweeted his support for a federal takeover of the city. New details about the arrest of Austin Drummond, the man wanted for the murder of 4 people, all of them related to an abandoned baby. Jackson Police Chief Tom Corley said that his department received several calls about possible sightings of Drummond around 8 o'clock yesterday morning. One of them was Ricardo Contreras. He and a team of men were painting a house in Jackson yesterday when they noticed something weird in the woods.
Another guy came to me and told me, like, there's somebody back there. And it was like, somebody. And I was like, immediately, it was like his hand.
He spoke to WSMB4. Now, Drummond had been living in a vacant building. It was a pool house. Police didn't release a motive for the killings, but they did say his girlfriend is the sister of 2 of the victims. In Montana, police are still searching for yet another quadruple murder suspect. Military veteran Michael Brown is accused of gunning down 4 people in a bar last Friday. Montana Attorney General Austin Knudsen.
We absolutely have to assume that he's armed and extremely dangerous. This is clearly an unstable individual. He had access to firearms.
Police believe that he's using a white Ford F-150 that was loaded with camping gear and food and had been reported stolen. General Motors says it'll continue making the Cadillac XT5 at the Spring Hill plant for a longer period of time. After telling workers in the spring that production would cease after August, GM now says that production will continue into 2026, but didn't give any more detail than that. Sales of the gas-powered XT5 rose 4% this year. That's the latest news. We've got weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
10:07, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Love those guys, Patriots. We got a guy in studio that I guess would you say you have some splaining to do?
Well, I don't think so.
Here, turn your mic on. Hit the red button. This is Jody Barrett. Jody Barrett's in studio. If you listened to the Matt Murphy show yesterday, you were kind of in the hot seat, man.
Well, yeah, I know. There's, what happens when you get polling very well and looks like maybe you might be pulling out to a little lead in these things, they start coming after you. So I expected that.
So let's reset the table. Who are you and what office are you running for?
Sure. I'm Jody Barrett. I'm not from Williamson County. I am running for the congressional 7th seat.
You heard my Williamson County commissioner?
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to be rude to the guy, but I wanted to talk to people.
Well, that's gotten to be where that's my introduction to pretty much everywhere I go, because I think there's going to be 10 or 12 candidates in this race for the Republican Party, and I think 6 or 7 of them are from Williamson County. So it just seems to be a trend everywhere we go, where there's a line of people going, well, I'm from Williamson County, I'm from Williamson County, I'm from Franklin, I'm from Brentwood. And so, as we're trying to differentiate ourselves from the other candidates in this race, I present myself and say, hey, I'm Jody Barrett, and I'm not from Williamson County.
Well, I think one of the things that's differentiated you from this race is people have highlighted you as anti-Trump, that you were against Trump in 2016. You called him, and I quote, a New York liberal douchebag. How do you feel about Donald Trump today? Do you still feel he was a New York liberal? Do you still feel he's a New York liberal douchebag? And where were you at the time when you made those comments? What was your thought process?
Yeah. So, no, obviously I don't think that today. I didn't think that in 2017 or any time after that, once the president took office and we got to see what type of president he was going to be. Again, this is what happens in politics when the big DC PACs get involved and they start spending money. They try to dig stuff up from 9 years ago and paint it as if it's something that you said yesterday. And so, again, that was during 2016, during the first election and primary, and I was a Ted Cruz supporter. I liked Ted. I thought he would be the great guy to pick the next Supreme Court justice, since we had an opening on the Supreme Court at that time. And I think at the time I said that on Facebook or whatever social media page it was, I think Donald Trump was probably polling at 1%. There were a lot of people that thought that.
Well, there's some discussion on when you made the comments. Did you make them when he was in the primaries, or did you make them when he was the Republican candidate?
Oh, I don't even remember. No, it wouldn't have been. Well, I don't know. Certainly was not going to support Hillary Clinton. So there may have been conversation that took place after the nomination was done over the course of a couple of months there after all that was finished. But look, everything that's happened since then, what he's done since he's been in office, has been exactly what we all wanted. We finally had somebody that took the presidency and took to task the crazy liberal left, said the things that we all wanted to say. He was a fighter that we all wanted. And, it's kind of like when you look in the Bible and folks say, well, Jesus was rejected by the Jews because he wasn't the warrior Messiah that they thought they were going to get. He was exactly what they needed. Same thing with Trump. He wasn't the guy that I thought we needed at the time, but clearly I was wrong. He's exactly what we needed, and he's done a great job ever since he's been in office.
And that's your stance today, because you got a lot of knives out for you. You got the guys over at Americans for Prosperity coming after you. A lot of political activists are digging up all this dirt. You're fully on board on the Trump train.
Yeah, 100%. In fact, and I'll pull this up here in a second. I've got some information for you. It's lovely. I pulled up some stuff off the internet for Americans for Prosperity, who had their own thing to say about Trump. And this was in 2023, not even in 2016. Their quote, Donald Trump is a part of the past. He is a figure of division and distraction, not leadership. That's from their AFP action statement in 2023.
Yeah, well, they endorsed Nikki Haley.
Yeah, 100%. That's 23, not 2016, 9 years ago.
So why is a group like Americans for Prosperity coming after you now and highlighting anti-Trump comments from the past when they endorsed Nikki Haley for 24?
Well, it's a common tactic of the liberal left and squishy rhino Republicans to accuse others of what they're actually doing. And the reason they're upset with me is because I voted against Governor Lee's school voucher plan. That's all this is about.
Why did you vote against the school voucher plan?
Well, the easy answer is because my district hated it, and they asked me not to vote for it. They asked me to vote against it. There's many more reasons to explain why it was a bad idea. You know, it's funny, other candidates in this race talk about being budget hawks, and we got to get rid of the federal deficit, and that's what's killing us. But then they vote for these big entitlement programs at the state level as state representatives that cost $500 million to get started, going to cost us $250 million a year for just 20,000 kids. I mean, if we just get that up to 10% of the students that are out there available, it's $1 billion program.
Trump's been behind the school choice stuff. Would you be, if you get the congressional seat, are you going to support him if he pushes for school choice nationwide?
Well, no, I support school choice. I just don't support that terrible bill that we did. In fact, I put a statement out to the governor just a month ago asking him to support what President Trump has put out in his executive order, which is a $1,700 tax credit for dollar for anybody that makes a donation to a nonprofit that is supporting a scholarship program for kids. That's universal school choice, not what we did. What we did is offering 20,000 scholarships for 2% of the students in the state, most of which we think now is probably going to be closer to 90% of which are going to go to students who are already in a private school. So we're not really creating any new education freedom by this plan, and we're using taxpayer dollars to do it. What President Trump is doing is saying, the government's never going to take your money. We're going to let you reduce what you pay to the government, keep it in your pocket, send it somewhere else so it goes directly to these scholarship programs. So we're going to incentivize the private market to fund the scholarships that we need to have for school choice.
Got you. So you would be on board if President Trump brought something nationwide?
I am on board. Yes. No, it's 100% necessary.
Okay. What makes you different from the other candidates in the race currently?
Well,
there's 7, 8
yes.
candidates.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a crowded field.
Yeah. The main thing is I'm the most conservative candidate in the race. I've gotten 2 different entities that have given me a perfect 100% voting record in the 25 legislative session. One being the Tennessee Legislative Report Card, and then also the Freedom Index, which is done by the John Birch Society, which looks at constitutional issues to see where you are as it relates to the Constitution and how you vote. So that's number one. And number 2 is I am the rural candidate in this race. I'm born and raised in Dixon County. I've started my law practice there, been there for 25 years now practicing law. I've done everything from the Industrial Development Board attorney to county attorney to school board attorney. So I know how these small towns work. I also represent a rural district in the state representative. I've got Dixon, Hickman, and Lewis County where we've got more cows and trees than people. And that's a large part of this congressional 7th. You know, there's 14 counties in this district, and 11 of them are a lot like mine that I live in. Outside of the portion of Williamson County and Davidson County, part of Davidson County, and then Montgomery County, it's a rural agricultural district with a lot of small towns and rural people. And so I think they've been overlooked for a long time. I think that large swath of counties from western middle Tennessee and a couple of counties across the river in western Tennessee, they need somebody that understands how they operate, how they think, that shares their values, and that's not going to just show up once a year for a Reagan Day dinner.
Interesting. Who do you view as your biggest competition in the race? I mean, we got Gino Bolso, we got Lee Reeves, John Thorpe, Matt Van Epps. Who do you look at and go, that's who I'm running against?
Yeah, on the Republican side of things, I think you look at name recognition and money in a short race like this. And so really I think it's, and with all due respect to the other candidates.
I'm just asking questions, and you got to answer the questions I ask.
Yeah, 100%. All due respect to the other candidates in the race. I think it's a 4-way race. I think it comes down to myself, Matt Van Epps, Gino Bolso, and Lee Reeves, which interestingly, Lee Reeves has not shown up to a single candidate forum, and I think we've done 7 or 8 of them now. So I assume he's renting space in Joe Biden's basement somewhere. I don't know what his plan is on how he's going to talk to the people.
Well, he's come on Dan's show before. You think he's just hiding out?
He's not coming to face the people face to face and answer questions.
Why do you think that is?
I have no idea. It's an interesting.
I feel like you have a bit more of an idea than you're letting on.
I'll just say it's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it turns out.
Okay. Do you think Lee Reeves is your biggest competition currently?
I think Lee Reeves and the people that support Lee Reeves are the ones that are funding these attack ads against me. I think Lee Reeves sees me as his biggest competition.
What differentiates you between Lee Reeves?
I'm actually conservative.
You don't think Lee Reeves is?
I think his
expand on that a little bit.
Well, you can look on the Freedom Index, and I think he had a 50% conservative voting record. I also think, look, Lee Reeves' claim to fame in his first session in the legislature. He just got elected in November. AFP and others spent $1 million to get him elected so he could vote in favor of school choice, even though his district was not in favor of it. And his claim to fame is that he passed a bill that was opposed unanimously by the state executive committee of the Republican Party and virtually every Republican county office across the state that did not want this mandatory primary bill. And he claims that that is his key piece of legislation that he passed this last year. So that may be one of the reasons why he doesn't want to come to all these county GOP candidate forums.
Interesting. All right, so we're in studio. We got Jody Barrett. He's running for Mark Green's congressional seat in the 7th District, and he wants to hear from you. Do you have questions for Jody Barrett? 615-737-9986. We're going to start doing this with any guys that are coming in running for office. It's called Come At Me, Bro. So all the hard questions that you got for Jody Barrett, now is your time to ask them. 615-737-9986. Call in and make your opinion known. Whether you like Jody, whether you hate Jody, you want to know more. Maybe I'm not asking enough tough questions. Maybe you should do it. 615-737-9986. You can also text in your questions as well. So I did get a text from one Pamela Furr, who is associated with AFP. And she said, just want to let you know, tell Jody that ad didn't come from us. Club for Growth did that ad. Tell me about Club for Growth.
Yeah, Club for Growth is, they've been Trump haters for a long time. Going back to 2016, the president of Club for Growth went on just about every TV show he could go on talking about how terrible President Trump was, which I think is ironic that they are now funding these ads to come at me for being anti-Trump in 2016 as well.
Interesting. So you think it's a little bit of the pot calling the kettle black?
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah. They didn't like Trump in the last election either. I mean, they were pro DeSantis as well.
Interesting. All right, we got Jody Barrett in here. If you got a question for Jody Barrett, pick up the phone, 615-737-9986. We'll take your calls next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right.
How you feeling?
I don't like it. No, it's good. I typically don't hold back too much. He'll yell at me later for saying too much.
Yeah. Do you want an ICE prison in Tennessee?
Yeah.
What would you call it? What nickname would you give it?
We've thought of several of them. Hillbilly, Alcatraz, the Copperhead Coop.
I like that. I'm a big... Seven, eight. 1023, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We're in studio with Jody Barrett. Jody Barrett is running for the 7th Congressional District of Tennessee. And you've been getting a lot of heat, man.
Yes, they're coming after me. Got to push that button every time.
Yeah, they call you anti-Trump.
Which is ridiculous.
And you've made the point that was before he was the candidate?
Yes.
Okay, and that's you're sure about that?
Look, I'm not going to say 100% that there wasn't some holdover until we got to the general, but no, look.
Did you vote? Did you vote for Trump in 16?
Yeah, 100%.
Were you
voted for Trump?
Be real. Were you salty that he was the nominee?
Look, I like Ted Cruz. I did.
Okay.
100%. I didn't like all the name calling. I didn't like calling his wife ugly and all that stuff. There was some stuff. And look, he was a non-traditional candidate. Trump did and said some things that none of us had ever seen before.
Yep.
And a lot of us didn't know how to take it. But it worked.
Did it throw you off when he came out there and said the Iraq war was a mistake?
No, I agreed with that. I agree with that. I said for a long time, even back, during that time period, it seemed like, we were getting attacked on the right, and then we turned around and punched the guy on the left. It didn't really seem to be a causal connection between the two things.
Okay. All right, so I feel like it's enough out of me, and I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask Jody any questions that you may have for Jody. We're calling these segments with politicians looking for your vote. Come at me, bruh. And 615-737-9996. You can ask him anything you want. We have not pre-screened any of these questions. Jody doesn't know what you're going to ask. Have at it. 615-737-9996. We'll start with Alan in Middle Tennessee. What's up, Alan?
Hey, good morning to both you gentlemen and the station there. As a former law enforcement officer here in the Middle Tennessee area, I'd like to ask a couple questions. Number one, this has nothing to do with law enforcement, but I guess it could be on the books. Making English the official language. We all know that when you go to certain state offices, it's by. So they have English and they have Spanish or whatever the case may be. That was brought up once at the House, and I think it was shot down for whatever reason. Second of all, providing insurance to these used car lots. I've had 4 accidents, all of them in the rear of my vehicle while sitting still. Each individual was driven by an Hispanic, not legal, and some of them pull out their passport and say, here's my license. Then they offer you money to get it fixed under the table so they don't have to make a report. Is there any way we can address that issue and correct that here in the state of Tennessee?
All right, Alan, thanks for the question. Jody, your response.
Yeah, so as far as English being official language, we've been working on some things in Tennessee to try to do that in the General Assembly. My friend Kip Capley ran a bill trying to make it English only for driver's license testing and things like that. And for whatever reason, even in this Republican supermajority, we have a hard time sometimes getting some of these things passed.
Why do you think that is with a Republican supermajority, that we can't seem to do conservative things? And why does it seem, and you tell me if I'm wrong, why does it seem like Tennessee is always the little brother waiting to do something after Texas and Florida does it? Why can't we lead in this state?
Honestly, I think the biggest problem is from within the castle walls. When we are trying to file and get past conservative legislation, particularly Second Amendment legislation, but things that our people, the folks that have elected us to go to the General Assembly to do, to push things, move the needle to the right, we get tremendous pushback from within our own administration, coming down from the governor's office through whatever commission or department it is that we're dealing with. And so, yeah, we're kind of fighting our own people to get some of this stuff passed. It's not our voters. They're breathing down our necks to get some of these things in place, but we get some passionate opposition from within our own ranks.
If you get to Congress, are you going to push this kind of stuff nationwide? Or are you going to, like, the trucking industry has been affected by the illegal aliens in this country bigly? Yeah,
and let me give you an example of that. You mentioned the trucking industry. One of the issues that we were having over on I-40 when the rock slide happened and the flood happened and washed out the stretch of I-40 and they had to close it down, they were putting signs up telling the truckers, hey, do not drive past this exit. You can't turn around. It's going to be terrible. Well, we have so many non-citizens now, non-English speaking citizens that are driving tractor trailers that they're blowing past these signs because they can't read them. and they're getting down and getting stuck, and then it takes 2 or 3 hours to get them to turn around, and then they're coming back and taking GPS that tells them, well, you need to get off on this side road and this will cut you through. Well, then they're getting hung up on switchback turns and old mountain roads that again, because they can't read the signs, they're causing all sorts of safety issues and problems for the rest of us. And as far as answering the second part of that question, the biggest thing that we can do to stop a lot of what you're dealing with illegals being involved in accidents and not having insurance and that sort of thing is get them out of here.
Yep.
You know, stop letting Freddie O'Connell and the Metro Council stop ICE from doing their job. Get Belmont to stop housing people on their campus in their dorms that don't belong here. Make these people go back and start over and get their paperwork in order before they come back.
We're in studio with Jody Barrett. He's answering any questions that you may have. Jennifer in Nashville is up next. What's up, Jen?
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
What's your question, Jennifer?
So you just talked about Freddie O'Connell. Things happen. There's a lot of talk with these candidates about illegal immigration, which we know has given us alignment with a worse scenario with the human smuggling and sex trafficking. Did you not author a bill this session, Mr. Barrett, that dealt with this issue, and what are your thoughts about the illegal immigration?
Thank you, Jen. Did you author a bill?
Yes, so the human smuggling bill that we passed this year that included the harboring provision, that was a bill that I drafted with the Center for Security Policy. And due to some difficulties that I had within my own party after opposing the school choice bill, I had to hand that off to Representative Chris Todd. So if you look it up on the website, it'll show Representative Chris Todd as the sponsor of that. And I greatly appreciate his help and willingness to take that on. But that was a bill that I drafted and filed and spent about a month getting it amended and done so that all the departments would sign off on it and be okay, so we wouldn't have this pushback that I just talked about. And thankfully, we got that passed. But yeah,
Are the rumors true that I heard? And I did hear some rumors that because of you not supporting the school choice bill, that it didn't matter what you're going to bring up. You could bring up the most conservative piece of legislation, that you're not going to get the support in the Tennessee State House.
That is correct. I had.
And is this why you passed that bill off to Chris?
That's correct. Yes, I got 3 bills passed this year, but I had to take all 3 of them and give them to somebody else to get them passed.
So do you think because of your opposition to school choice that you're not getting the support that you could with some bills that people should support?
I think if the people knew the bills that I had that were being denied access to the committee system, they would be very upset about it.
Interesting. We'll have more with Jody Barrett when we get back, plus more of your questions. 615-737-9986. It's 1031 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 1037, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. You can find me on Twitter, True Social, Instagram, TikTok, begrudgingly, and YouTube, at Chris Hand on air. Hit the follow button. I will follow back. I'm in studio with Jody Barrett. Jody is running for Mark Green's seat in Congress, and a lot of people have a lot of questions for Jody. 615-737-9986. Let's start here. Is Jody another career politician now? He's an attorney, so that's a minus. Too many attorneys want to be politicians. I wonder why. Is it the money? Jody, your answer. Money? Jody, your answer.
So you're talking about running for state representative 3 years ago is the first public office I've ever ran for, so I could make $28,000 a year as a state rep, sure. Yeah, I did it for the money. You're right. You caught me.
Have you used your office in any way to enrich yourself?
No.
No ways at all?
Absolutely not. No, I'm losing money doing this.
Okay. We talked a little while ago about rumors that maybe you couldn't get anything passed in the House, in the state legislature, because of your opposition to school choice.
Right.
A couple texters have pointed out, well, you also didn't vote to expel Gloria Johnson.
Right.
And that may have leaned into some of the willingness of the conservatives in the state legislature to support whatever you bring forward. You can argue whether that's not a good reason. If the bill's good, you should support it. But I do want to ask you about Gloria Johnson.
Sure.
You didn't vote to expel her. Can you expand on why?
Yeah, so I was one of 8 Republicans that did not vote to expel her. I think they focused on me because I was very outspoken whenever the whole thing went down to say, hey, we need to throw the book at these guys and make an example out of it.
So it was you and 8 other Republicans chose not to?
That's right.
Who? Any names that are going to jump off the page?
No, I'd have to go back and look at it to see. And I think probably most of them were kind of no from the get-go. But if you look at it, you'll see some of them voted no just for her. A couple of them voted yes for the other 2
for the
fellows.
Justins.
Yep. No, but look, it was for me.
Did you vote yes for the Justins to expel them?
Yeah, I voted.
So what was the difference between the Justins and Gloria Johnson?
So what happened is when we cast our vote, we're not casting a vote as to whether or not we think they did anything wrong. We're casting our vote in favor of or against the written resolution, to adopt that resolution or not. And what they did is they copied and pasted a resolution. They drafted one up that said Justin Jones did all these things. He beat on the desk. He yelled into people in the crowd. He used a bullhorn. And then they just changed the names and said Gloria did all the same things. And then they showed a video before we ever started voting on it, or before we ever started having the discussion on the floor about the resolutions. And the video showed that she didn't use the bullhorn, and she didn't really actively participate. She just kind of stood there behind him, kind of mumbling under her breath, did some stuff. Still very worthy of us taking action against her, but the document that we were voting on did not match what she actually did. And so we were being asked to just turn a blind eye to that and go ahead and pass it anyway. And others in our caucus tried to go talk to the clerk and talk to the majority leader, ask him, hey, can we amend this on the floor to fix it? And the clerk said, yes, we can do that, but they didn't want to do that. They didn't want to take the time to go back and fix it before we actually voted on it. I was on the schedule to ask questions that I thought I could rectify this situation, and if I could get her on record saying a few things, talking about how long she'd served up there, how well she knows the rules, she knew what she did was wrong, that sort of thing. And, Representative Bolso was the sponsor of that resolution. He's the one that questioned Gloria. He had 3 different opportunities at 5 minutes apiece, so he had 15 minutes to interrogate her, and actually walked into a couple of questions about the bullhorn and things that he didn't know the answer to, and she kind of made him look bad. And I think because of that, I think he's probably a little upset with me that he thinks I made him look bad. But it wasn't that. Like, I really wanted to try to help, and I was trying to get my name in there so that I could get those questions asked. But at the end of the day, I just couldn't. It wasn't right. It was not legally proper for me to vote in favor of that resolution because it did not match what she actually did.
Well, all right. I appreciate you explaining that. If you got questions for Jody, the number to call is 615-737-9986. You can also text in your questions. Now, I will preface it with this. don't just call in glaze, Jody. Okay, like we don't need to fluff him. He can handle a tough question. So really, hard questions to the front of the line. Nobody that is aligned with Jody or feels positively, don't call in. Like we get it. If you have a question, that's what we want. Let's go to James. You're up first with a question for Jody. What's up, James?
Yes. Hey. So yes or no? Simple answer. Are you in favor of marijuana legalization, recreation?
Well, it's hard to be a yes or no question on that. Not for recreation, no.
Why would you say no?
I think that it just leads to too many problems and issues that we've seen with other narcotics and things that have been used. If we were talking about medicinal purposes, there's ways that we can do that, legalize that without it becoming a societal issue or problem that bleeds into other parts of our culture. It does have medicinal qualities and factors to it that we can benefit from as a society, and I think we need to continue to explore that and research it. But from a recreational use, I've seen it in other cities and communities as I've traveled around the country, and I just don't think it's right for Tennessee.
What do you say to people that says, well, we're losing a lot of tax revenue because you can cross the state line into Illinois, 15-minute drive some places in this country, in this state, and get it, and then Illinois is making that money. Why would we turn away Tennessee?
Yeah, well, again, if you're a small government Republican who doesn't necessarily like taxation anyway, I don't know that that's a moving point for me to say, well, we can tax people and raise a bunch of revenue. I don't know that necessarily moves the needle for me.
Is it small government to say that we should keep it illegal?
No. I mean, look, I think we're certainly the way that we're handling it through our criminal justice system is wrong. And I think there's ways that we need to certainly review how we're incarcerating people, how we're treating people with that.
Would you be in favor of nationwide decriminalization?
Potentially. Yeah, potentially. I think there's a way for us to craft that to where it frees up jail space, it frees up courtroom space, docket time, all of the stuff that we're dealing with folks that are not violent criminal offenders, and we're letting other people sit in the back burner that we really need to get off the streets and get into our jails, and we're turning them loose because we've got our jails full already with people that are just
and then it hamstrings good people for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
So before I got this gig, when I was 18, I got a marijuana charge. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I wanted to do when I was getting back, so I did stay-at-home dad stuff for a while. My wife was working at Capitol Records, and one of the things I wanted to do was, I was like, man, I could work at a prison. I thought that would be fun. I'm a little bit warped, so I thought it would be a good time, and I went down in Rutherford, and I couldn't get the job because I had a charge when I was 18. Mm-hmm. So you lose a lot of good people in this kind of cycle too, where it's like, I'm no criminal. I would have been a great employee of this, but because of something that happened decades in my past, that I'm no good to them.
Like making a negative comment about Trump 9 years ago.
Boom. All right. Gary in Nashville, you're up next with Jody Barrett. What do you got?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Hey, Jody, I just want to say I appreciate it.
Gary's got a lousy signal. Gary, we're gonna put you on hold, man. We'll get back to you. 615-737-9986. If you have a question or comment for Jody Barrett, 615-737-9986. Small government means small government, not just on issues we don't like. 0727. Your response?
No, I generally agree with that, but I think that's part of this representative democracy that we have, or republic that we have. We're all going to disagree on certain things, and so it's about what the majority thinks.
Yeah, a lot of the text line is against you on marijuana.
Well, that's fair.
Would it be something where if you saw a majority of voters pushing you one direction, that you would take your personal views out of it and do what the voters wanted?
Yeah, I mean, I think I did that on school choice, on the governor's bill. I when I approach being the representative is this: it's my job to say what my people would say and do what they would do and vote the way they would vote if they were sitting in the chair. It's not Jody Barrett asserting his opinion into a matter. So yes, so on marijuana, if the majority of the people of the congressional 7th district are showing me that, hey, that's what they really want and that's how they want me to vote, and that's what I'm going to do.
Okay. 615-737-9986. Got a text here from 3618. What was your stance on the 50-50 equal shared parenting bill that failed in the judiciary this year? Can you explain the bill and tell us what your take on it was?
Well, I'm not on judiciary, so I'm not familiar with the bill. I'd hate to talk outside of school with not having had an opportunity to read it.
Okay, I'm not familiar with the bill too. Just to be perfectly honest with you, let's go to Matt in Mount Juliet. Matt, what do you got?
Hey, so we had a bill fail in the judiciary this year for 50-50 equal shared parenting by default. What is your take on 50-50 equal shared parenting by default, considering all the states that surround us already have it?
Yeah, I would be in favor of that. I think there's a lot of reform that needs to be done when it comes to our custody issues, how we're dealing with parenting. DCS is a nightmare. There's a lot of things that we need to be doing there. And there's some laws that we've seen in other places like Texas and Florida that we need to be implementing here in Tennessee as well.
Okay. Jeremy in Nashville, what do you got for Jody?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What's up?
Hey, I appreciate it. I got cut. Hey, Jody, I just want to say, I thank you for saying you're losing money by taking this job. That's your first red flag. The second one, I want to know, you being a Baptist, you going to support Israel when you get up there? You going to let AIPAC line them pockets? Tell us that.
That's a good question. What do you think about AIPAC?
It's hard to say. I being on the state level, I've never had to deal with them.
So they're the biggest lobbying group in Washington, D.C. They put a lot of money in there.
Yeah.
You would definitely get a knock on your door from an AIPAC representative. Thomas Massey once said that every member of Congress has an AIPAC guy. Would you have an AIPAC guy? What does that look like?
Well, as a Baptist, to answer the caller's question, and a born-again Christian, I look at Israel as it's defined in the Bible. Israel is defined in the Bible as the people, the Jewish people, not a geopolitical state that was created in the 1940s after World War II. So it's a different issue. And so what we're dealing with now is geopolitical matters over in the Middle East. And so it becomes a matter of strategic decisions as to what's in America's best interest. What is America first, and what does us the most good over there? Is it Israel? Is it Saudi Arabia? Is it Jordan? Who is our partner? Who can we rely on to work with us to try to keep that situation under wraps? So as far as AIPAC is concerned, yeah, of course they're going to reach out. Anybody that they think is one of the top candidates that has a chance to win this seat, they're going to try to reach out.
Have they reached out to you already?
Yes.
What does that conversation look like?
Mostly same thing, asking my question, asking what my position is, what I think about it, where I'm coming from, that sort of thing.
What questions are they asking you?
Pretty much the same thing. What do you think about Israel? What do you think their role is in the Middle East? What do you think their role is with America? That sort of thing.
What is that conversation? What like is it a weird conversation when you get a random phone call from an AIPAC guy?
Yeah, well, it wasn't random. It was a random text message saying, "Hey, I'm with AIPAC. Want to meet with you sometime." Like, well, all right, if I can squeeze you in sometime between campaign deals, we'll do that. I think we did it in the car on a Zoom call in between campaign stops. There was two American guys. One guy was in Atlanta. I think the other guy may have been in D.C. I don't even recall.
So when you get that call from an AIPAC guy, are you nervous? Do you feel like that's almost like an interview in a sense?
Well, yeah, sure. They want to find out if I'm somebody that they think they can work with or count on to be in their side of things. It's just like any other lobbyist group. They're calling you up to kind of size you up to see if they can work with you. And when I say work with you, sometimes it means they just want to find out if can they work with you, or can they work you?
What other lobbyist groups have called you besides AIPAC?
That's the only one I've talked to so far.
That's the only one?
Yes.
Is it weird though that no other lobbyist groups have called you but AIPAC?
I mean, I don't know what this process normally works like on the state side of things. When I ran for state representative, none of that really happened until after the primary anyway. Lobbyist groups and whatnot, nobody kind of wanted to weigh in until they figured out who the nominee was, and then in the general, you started getting checks and stuff like that.
That's interesting. I've never had a conversation like this where you did get a call from an AIPAC guy. Do you think that it is anti-Semitic to criticize the government of Israel?
No, No, like I said, it's two different things. The Jewish people and the government of Israel are two different things. And decisions that are made by the government of Israel that may or may not negatively affect America is perfectly fine to criticize that.
I like the answer. Let's go to Mason in Louisville with a question for Jody. What's up, Mason?
Man, I don't like the answer. He tries to say, "Oh, they're just like every other lobbyist group," and you're full of it. You sound scared when you talk about them like they're listening right now, and that's the problem. Once you get past city council and once you step out of Dixon, they're going to wrangle you like a little cattle they think you are, Goya. But, yeah. Hey, man. Hey, Chris, I love you, brother. I got to use voices when I call in now to get through. But, hey, keep on these guys. Hey, he's Israel already. They already got him. He's making his own with them, y'all.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Mason. I appreciate it. Does Israel already have you?
No.
No.
It's a good call, though. I like that.
We got this is why we're doing Come At Me, bro. Austin in Lebanon, what do you got for Jody?
Hey, how you guys doing? My question for you guys today is, what is your input on the homeless crisis and the fentanyl crisis that we have in Middle Tennessee? And if you are elected, in what ways could you make an impact on this problem?
Well, again, I think the fentanyl crisis all comes back to the way we're dealing with illegal immigration. We've got to get the illegal immigrants out of here. They're the ones that are trafficking this stuff. They're trafficking our drugs. They're trafficking fentanyl. They're trafficking kids. They're trafficking each other. And that's when it all boils down to it, that is the centerpiece. That is the linchpin in the whole deal.
Okay. We're talking with Jody Barrett. He's running for Mark Green's congressional seat. How can we keep up with you, Jody? How can we learn more about you?
Yeah, it's Jody Barrett for Tennessee, Facebook, X, also Instagram, or jodybarrett.com is the website.
Perfect. Real quick, Lena wants to know, do you drink?
No, I do not.
You don't drink alcohol?
No, sir.
Me either. All right, bet. Well, she said there's zero medicinal purposes for alcohol. So people are coming at you on the pot.
That's fine.
That's fine. Jody can take it. Find him on X. What was your X handle?
Jody Barrett for Tennessee.
Jody Barrett for Tennessee. He'll answer all your questions. The guy's not afraid, and I like that. It's 10:54. Jody, thanks for coming in, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
10:54, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. If you need an HVAC guy, you need to call Busy Bee. They are the best in all of Middle Tennessee, and they are always bringing you the absolute best deals. Like right now, back to school time, Busy Bee is giving you some big savings and sweet giveaways. You can get 15% off any septic work, main drain lines, or whole home repipes just in time for the new school year. And if you upgrade that HVAC system, you'll get entered to win a Healthy Hive giveaway. That's a $1,500 sponsorship to the local school of your choice. The school does have to be within our listening area. And forget the red apple. Give your teacher something better. You join the Beehive Club, you'll get a free membership to give to your local teacher, coach, faculty member at the school in our service area. Buy one, gift one. It's that simple. Call Busy Bee today, 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
11 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Checking traffic. Looks like we've got a crash reported Old Hickory Boulevard westbound at Edmondson Pike. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Getting a breaking news alert from several sources now, including ABC News and the Associated Press, which says an Army base in Georgia is on lockdown after a report of an active shooter. That is an active shooter at an Army base in Georgia placed on lockdown. Very early information here. We'll get you the details on this as quickly as possible. Meanwhile, it's official. Senior Tennessee U.S. Senator Marsha Blackburn has announced on X she's seeking the governor's seat.
We always lead the way, and that's why I am announcing my candidacy for governor. Tennessee is the greatest place in the world to rear a family.
Two other Republicans in the governor's race. 6th District Congressman John Rose, who joins WTN's Chris Hand after this newscast, and then Cito Pellegra. Here in Nashville, the Metro Council has moved forward with a significant rezoning plan for the Nations. The proposal includes rezoning about 300 acres to allow 40 higher density units, housing units per acre in some areas that are currently zoned for single or double occupancy homes. Supporters say it's needed for increased affordability, while critics say it's going to ruin the neighborhood, possibly put people out of their homes. The proposal is scheduled for a third and final vote on August 19th, with additional amendments expected to be considered. President Trump has imposed an additional 25% tariff on imports coming into the U.S. from India. The president says it's because of India's relationship with Russia and its purchases of Russian oil. The tariffs are paid by U.S. businesses who are importing the goods. This is Special Envoy Steve Witkoff met with Russian officials at the Kremlin about whether they are serious about ending the war in Ukraine. We get more from ABC's Tom Sufi-Burridge.
The spokesperson from the Kremlin in the last few days has been playing down what has really been a massive deterioration from their perspective in terms of Donald Trump's rhetoric. Donald Trump has been calling Russia out more consistently. He seems to be increasingly frustrated and even at times angry. And also, I think he has finally seen through the Kremlin's facade of saying that they want peace, saying that they're willing to negotiate for peace, when on the ground, on the battlefield in Ukraine, in terms of their aerial attacks on Ukraine, it is completely the opposite.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held a security cabinet meeting with a small number of his top aides today to discuss possible occupation of Gaza once the fighting has stopped. There have been widespread protests all over Israel, urging Netanyahu's government to do more to bring the hostages home. We get more from ABC's Ian Pannell in Israel, who says Israeli forces still want to root out Hamas.
No hostage has been released since Israel broke off from the ceasefire agreement back in March. It instituted this blockade of all food aid and medicine, and that didn't apply the pressure that they wanted on Hamas. And the reality on the ground is that the troops are not really moving further. They're still finding tunnels. They're still going after Hamas targets.
That's the latest news. Weather's up next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:07 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name's Chris Hand. Hey, how are you? Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to us anywhere. You can watch the show as well. That's Super Talk TV. That's on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and our friends at Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe. I got kids to feed, so I appreciate it when you do that. It really does help. And it helps to grow the digital footprint of this radio station. I was joking with Dan Mandis in the hallway. And I had said, you know, some of these YouTubers, they get these interviews with like Tulsi Gabbard, not because they're great interviewers, but because of all the subscribers they have. And if everybody that listens to this radio station subscribed to the YouTube channel, we could get some bangers as well. We got a banger in studio right now, though. Congressman John Rose joins us. Hello, Congressman. How are you?
Good afternoon, Chris. Good morning. Good to be with you.
Man, I mean, if only we had some news for you to react to today, John. What is on your mind? You've been declared now in the governor's race for about a month and change.
No, we're at the 4-month mark.
Oh, geez,
yeah.
Time flies. Time
Going on
flies.
5.
Were you surprised today when you saw Marsha Blackburn's announcement?
A little bit surprised. You know, she just got elected to a fresh 6-year term in the Senate, and I think Tennesseans sent her there to do a job. And so I thought at the end of the day that she probably would decide to fulfill that obligation and serve out those 6 years. So I'm a little surprised, not shocked. Frankly, she's been saying she was thinking about it, and her team has been out working. Probably the most active re-election campaign for the Senate 6 years out that I've seen. And so, sending signals that they might be really serious about this.
Does it change how you're going to run your race now?
I think it does. I mean, obviously, I've been the only major candidate in the race now for going on 5 months. And so, it's hard to get people interested in thinking about an election that's 1 year away. Today's the 1 year mark. I assume probably not a coincidence. And so, when you're visiting with people and the race is that far out, it's kind of hard to get them ginned up thinking about it. So now I think with perhaps the field being set, there could be others, I suppose, but I think it's safe to say this might be most of the field, if not all the field. So I think Tennesseans will now start to zero in on trying to make the decision about who they want to hire to be the chief executive officer of Tennessee.
As you've been traveling across the state, what are voters telling you about what they're looking for in a leader?
Yeah, I think I just alluded to it there with my answer about what we're hearing. So, the job of being governor is more like what I've spent my career doing before I went to Congress. So I started and ran small businesses, took them from the idea phase all the way through to success, creating jobs, scores of jobs right here in Davidson County in Nashville and in Tennessee. And I think the voters are pretty astute about that. I think they've seen our past governors who have come from a business background, people like the current governor, Bill Lee, and the governors before him. And most of them have come from that business background. And that is more akin to what the job is. It's the job of running Tennessee. It's not a legislative job. I've learned a lot as a legislator over the last 6.5 years, but as a conservative outsider and a businessman and farmer, what I know is that there's a different set of skills that you need to do that work from what you do as a legislator. As a legislator, you make decisions about yes or no votes, but you don't have the responsibility to make things happen in the same way as you do when you're actually in charge with running an organization. And the state of Tennessee is a very large organization, lots of employees, lots of people, lots of groups and interest groups that you have to bring together. And so it's a very different set of skills that I think is needed. And I think my 30 years of experience as running and building small businesses will equip me to do that job well.
How do you feel the job that Bill Lee has done? How good has he done? What has he done right that you're going to continue? What has he done that you think, I'm going to do that a little differently?
Well, that's a tough question because I don't necessarily want to be critical of the current governor because I think he's a super nice man and a great Christian example, and I share his Christian faith.
Not even personally,
sure,
but just business wise. If you're looking at it objectively, and somebody said score him, what would you say? Yeah,
so I think if you look at it that way, Tennessee's in a great place, particularly if you compare it to the United States and think about where we are. So we have among the lowest taxes of any state in the country. We have the lowest debt per capita of any state in the country. We have a favorable regulatory environment for small businesses like the one that I operate. and we have a favorable social environment. And I think by and large, the governor's done a pretty good job of continuing and building upon that legacy of managing the state well. I think we've seen our spending grow more than I would like. Part of that was driven by COVID and the response to COVID. But I think we've always got, if we want to remain where we are in terms of the fiscal health of the state, then I think we've got to kind of double down on the conservative principles. And so as a conservative outsider who's had to sign a front side of a paycheck like Governor Lee did in his prior life, I think I will be well equipped to help guide us forward and make sure that Tennessee is continuing to make responsible, frugal decisions about how to spend the taxpayers' money.
So I kind of disagree. I do feel like Governor Lee has been a bit soft. I feel like he's been the younger brother waiting for Texas and Florida to do something first before he jumps on board. What would you do as governor that's going to make us the leader among conservative states? I think that Tennessee has the opportunity to be the preeminent conservative state. Under your leadership, what does that look like? How do you take us there?
Sure. Well, I think I'll start with something that may be a difference between Governor Lee and I. But, I believe very strongly in our rights that are God-given, secured by the U.S. Constitution. One of those that I feel fairly strongly about is our Second Amendment right. If the people of Tennessee hire me as their governor, we'll have true constitutional carry in Tennessee.
Okay.
And I think that's so important because, we pay a price for our freedoms, right? I mean, First Amendment, you have to hear things you wish you didn't have to hear, and sometimes that can be very painful and very damaging even. Second Amendment, the same way. There's a price that gets paid, and some Tennesseans have paid the ultimate price for that Second Amendment right because some people are going to abuse those rights. But I also have a very strong belief that protecting those rights and the Second Amendment, certainly First Amendment right to speech and to religion, the right of assembly, all those very important, but we can't protect them from tyranny if we don't have our Second Amendment rights. And so if you compare the price we pay as Americans for that Second Amendment right, sometimes there's going to be violence in our society. But boy, if you compare our society to those around the world and look at the previous century and you see how many people died at the hands of tyranny, hundreds of millions. So the price we pay at the end of the day may be, while horrific, a bargain relative to the price we might pay if we did not have the Second Amendment and if suddenly our rights were stripped away by a tyrannical government.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of the Second Amendment. When violent crime happens, you're going to be your first responder. We've seen some of our biggest cities devolve into violence. We saw the president reacting to the news of big balls from Doge, putting his life on the line to stop a woman from being assaulted in D.C., and he makes the point of federalizing D.C. Tennessee, we're pretty bad when it comes to crime. And a lot of people say, well, it's Memphis's fault. As governor, how are you going to fix the crime in Memphis?
Sure, and
Nashville and Knoxville.
Absolutely, because it is spreading, and we have a problem here in Nashville as well, as many are saying. And I will tell you, as you talk to sheriffs in and around the Nashville area, they'll all tell you that a good deal of the violent crime that are happening in their counties is spilling over from Davidson County. And so I think we have to take a hard look. I think the legislature in this last session took some steps that I consider to be beginning steps toward addressing those problems. But ultimately, we've got to make sure that despite what the voters in Shelby County and Davidson County might decide to do, if they're going to elect Soros-backed DAs that are going to not aggressively enforce our laws, and from that we're going to see crime begin to flourish and spawn more crime, then as a state, we've got to step forward. And I think we can look at what some states have done and see some of the toolkit that we have. We can see what we've already done in Tennessee. But at the end of the day, we've got to be sure that our prosecutors in these more liberal bastions in our state are either put in a position where they are simply forced to prosecute those crimes, or we augment what they're doing with state-level prosecutions that get the job done. And that's the sort of thing. Now, we can also bring in surge law enforcement. The Governor Lee has done some of that. We can appeal to the national interest to do that. And obviously, Kash Patel, the FBI director, has noticed what's happening in Memphis and has agreed because of the outreach of some of us to make that a focus for FBI engagement. If you talk to the people in Shelby County, what they'll tell you is Most of that crime can be traced to about 600 individuals. So this is a manageable thing if you go after it in a concerted and focused way, and that's what you would see Governor Rose do.
You made my ears perk up when you said a magic word. It's a word that you're not allowed to say on some TV stations, even conservative ones. You said Soros. Soros-backed DAs. If you're the governor and you find yourself in a position where a Soros-backed DA is allowing criminals to walk free for heinous crimes, what steps are you taking?
Well, I think we have to look at the full range of options that we have. We certainly don't want to suppress free speech. But when we have outside money coming into our state and encouraging election of officials that don't value the same values that we have as Tennesseans, then we need to be thinking about how do we address that? How do we try to confront that? At least expose it and make it clear to the electorate in whatever jurisdiction that might be happening in, what they're facing. So you have to be careful about the First Amendment. As I said, all of these rights come at a cost, right? And sometimes that means outcomes that we won't like. But as a state, we know that Shelby County exists as an administrative convenience of the state. The state creates the counties and cities and empowers them. And so if they're not getting the job done, then it's the responsibility of the state to step up. And so, I would certainly take that responsibility to heart, because if you're in Shelby County and you talk to the leaders in Shelby County, people like Senator Brent Taylor, who is fighting hard to make Memphis matter, what they'll tell you is that the issues there, the top three issues are crime, crime, and crime. Now, it's not the only issue they have, but it is so much of an issue that it is overshadowing everything else that is going on there, sadly. And we've got to solve that problem, because Memphis is a great city, a great part of the state, capital of the Mid-South, and, a lot of heritage and history there. And it's well positioned to be an economic juggernaut if we can solve some of the problems that are happening there locally.
We're talking with Congressman John Rose, who is running for governor of this great state, on the heels of the announcement of Marsha Blackburn declaring to run for governor for the state. We had Jody Barrett in a little while ago. He's running for Mark Green's seat. One of the big topics that came up, which the text line is still flooding now, asking me to ask you, would be marijuana legalization. Some polling says that about 85% of the state supports marijuana legalization. If you're the governor of the state, what does marijuana look like under you? And if you're against marijuana, what do you think about the regulations that have been passed on Delta-9, THC, alternatives, and stuff like that?
Well, I am not in favor of legalizing marijuana. And everyone I talk to, and I've talked about this a lot as a member of Congress, and even before, everyone I talk to in the healthcare space and in the law enforcement space is of one mind that it is a gateway drug, and that it leads to further drug use, heavier drugs, and ultimately leads to bad outcomes for the individuals that are users. So I would not favor legalization of marijuana. I do not favor medical marijuana, because I think that's just a step in that direction. And so with respect to the near marijuana products that you described, I think we have to be very careful. I think we have to be honest with ourselves about what we're doing there. And so I think, the 2018 Farm Bill and subsequent action here in Tennessee have allowed some of those things, but I think we see them for what they are now. And, a lot of people are talking about hemp and the industrial uses of hemp. That's all a good thing. But if what that really is masking drug use, then I think we have to rethink that. And I think you see Tennessee on that path. I think you see us on that path in Congress, and I think that's the right path to be on.
What would you say to the argument that marijuana isn't a gateway drug, alcohol is a much bigger gateway drug?
Well, I understand that. I think the horse is out of the barn on alcohol, and I think obviously fair enough to say there are some negative consequences from abuse of alcohol, but it's a much more ingrained in our society, and so I think we have to continue to fight to try to get people to be responsible when they do.
So you're taking an anti-prohibition stance on the show? Is that what you're telling me?
I think we've been there and tried that, and so I think marijuana is a different animal altogether, and so I think we have to be careful with how we treat it, and I don't favor seeing Tennessee go down that path.
Okay, so we have Congressman John Rose in studio. I've been dubbing this segment "Come at Me, Bro." So what we're gonna do when we get back is we're gonna open up the phone lines and we're gonna let the voters talk to you and ask the questions that they want to ask. Sound good?
That sounds great.
I love the no holds barred aspect of it. John Rose is in studio, willing to answer any question that you have. 615-737-9986. It's 11:22. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. If you're tired of back pain, knee pain, ruining your life, well, you need to listen up because this deal is going to change everything for you. The Wellness Institute of Nashville is running a special called the BDT. It's the Big Daddy Trump special. And for just $12, you're going to get a full exam, x-rays if needed, a well-explained diagnosis, and your first treatment. That's right. All of that for only $12. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are the best, and they're not going to give up on you and finding a solution to your pain. And their patients say it all the time when they walk out of there pain-free. They're like, man, why didn't I come here first? Don't be like that. Go there first. Back pain, neck pain, sciatica, numbness, bulging discs. They'll treat it all, and they'll do it without surgery. They'll do it without injections. They'll do it without painkillers. What they're going to use is non-surgical spinal decompression, robot lasers, and even anti-gravity machines. So grab your MRI and get ready to finally understand your condition and fix it. 615-246-5009. That's 615-246-5009. Or find them online, painisbad.com.
Seeing reports of casualties due to an active shooter at Fort Stewart, Georgia. We've got this story and more coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$11:26, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Ken Weaver in the newsroom. Headlines on the way. We got Congressman John Rose in studio for another edition of come at me, bruh. We're doing this with any official that wants to run for office. They got to answer your questions. John Rose is here. No holds barred. 615-737-9986. Let's start with Jeff in Murray County. Jeff, how are you? You're on with Congressman John Rose.
Hey, great. Thanks, Chris, for taking my call.
Absolutely. What do you got?
So I just want to say, as a Murray County resident, don't have any direct contact with all the people that you have on here, all the politicians, and so I get to listen to everybody every day. But as a state employee and a 35-plus year law enforcement officer, I've got to look back on John Rose and read his stuff and listen to some of his stuff. I don't like the fact that Marsha Blackburn has taken all this drug money and this opioid crisis that we've had and all this sort of stuff. It just doesn't look good. She's already backing out on her commitment to what she's elected to. So as an outsider, I guess, looking in, I looked at John Rose. I think he's a true conservative. He's exactly right about marijuana being a gateway drug and the drug crisis that we've had here in Tennessee.
Well, do you have a question? Do you have a question for John?
I don't have a question. I was just wanting to say,
just jumping on, just jumping on for a little bit of glaze. I get it, man. I get it. Hey, appreciate your call. Vincent in Nashville, you got a question for the congressman?
I do. Come at me, bro.
Come at me, bro.
So
what do you got?
As far as the whole medical marijuana stuff, and it being a gateway drug. A gateway drug to what? The refrigerator? It's 2025. We have enough public education. Anybody knows drugs are bad, what they can lead to. It's just kind of survival of the fittest at that point. If you're going to do stupid stuff, you get stupid prizes.
It's true.
But, what we're doing in Tennessee is we're turning normal people, normal citizens, regularly law-abiding citizens into criminals over marijuana, over a victimless crime. Israel has a medical marijuana program that they've had since the 90s, and they're not filled with drug addicts all over the street, and all this reefer madness stuff.
That's a good take, Vince.
I'm just wondering, when are we as a Republican Party going to get with the modern times and the science and just the reality of it? Are we going to wait for the FDA to reclassify it, which we all know the FDA is bought and paid for, so is DEA and all those. So I just would like to see some modern common sense conservatism applied to that.
All right, thanks for the call, Vince. All right, your response. So maybe you're not for legalization. Are you for decriminalization?
I don't think so. I think if we start down that path, and we've seen this happen, a lot of my views of this come from a visit a number of years ago after California had created, legalized medical marijuana, and I was walking down Venice Beach. I guess I'm a little naive about this. I think medical marijuana, okay, they're trying to see if it can solve problems for people. In about a 20-minute walk down Venice Beach, I was offered 6 prescriptions to get marijuana. And so I knew then and understood. Nobody asked me if I had a condition, if I needed it. And so I understood that it was kind of a farce. And so, here's the thing. We've got a great pharmaceutical industry in this country when it comes to extracting the useful, beneficial, efficacious elements of substances like marijuana. And so if there is a medical application to that, we can medicinalize it without creating a kind of a backdoor to recreational drug use. And again, I'm not just basing this. I've never smoked marijuana, never used drugs, never drank. So I wouldn't be the person to assess that. But every physician that I talk to, every law enforcement officer that I talk to tell me, don't go down that path. And so that's what informs my decision. And so because other states are getting it wrong, we have laboratories for democracy in our republic. And so, they'll either decide it works or it doesn't. But I don't think Tennessee needs to be the guinea pig here.
Do you think that not ever smoking marijuana, not ever drinking limits how you see the issue?
I've seen plenty of the negative impacts of both of those. And so I don't think it does. I think you don't have to, burn yourself on the stove to know that you shouldn't touch the stove.
Fair enough. We're in with Congressman John Rose. He's running for governor in this great state. And this is in response to the Marsha Blackburn announcement today. John Rose is in here willing to answer any question you have. And we'll take more of those questions when we return. It's 11:31, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes, and authorities confirming an active shooter incident at Fort Stewart, Georgia. The base and associated airfields on lockdown. Casualties reported, though the exact nature unconfirmed. The incident taking place in the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team area. Some local schools are on lockdown as a precaution. Here's Luis Martinez.
I should point out that Fort Stewart is a very large base. It's a very important base for the Army. It's home to the Army's 3rd Infantry Division, which is one of its larger armored units. So there's a lot of training that goes on there as well. There's also some attached airfields where some training goes on, and it's close to Savannah, Georgia.
Suspect has been identified but not named. And here in Tennessee,
I'm Marsha Blackburn. Here in the volunteer state, we always lead the way. And that's why I am announcing my candidacy for governor.
Blackburn's the 3rd Republican to announce for the governor's race, including Cito Pellegra and 6th District Congressman John Rose, who is in studio with WTN's Chris Hand with this reaction.
A little bit surprised. You know, she just got elected to a fresh 6-year term in the Senate, and I think Tennesseans sent her there to do a job. And so I thought at the end of the day that she probably would decide to fulfill that obligation and serve out those 6 years. So I'm a little surprised, not shocked.
Rose thinks Blackburn entering the race sets the field, which means he will change the way he's campaigned to this point. Apple is set to announce an additional $100 billion investment in U.S. manufacturing. This comes amidst pressure from the Trump administration regarding tariffs on products made outside the United States. According to the White House, the additional $100 billion brings Apple's total domestic investment to $600 billion over the next 4 years. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for the Glock store. I know. What else is new? Well, I'll tell you. C-cuts. C-cuts are short for compensator cuts. These are the little slots cut into the barrel and slide that redirect that bullet blast upwards into a V pattern. This helps you keep on target by reducing muzzle flip, and it lessens the recoil. These cuts are identical to the ones that were offered in the high-end Gen 3 compensated Glocks, but haven't been available in the latest models. That is, until now. The Glock store will compensate your Glock in 10 days or less, and you'll end up with a flatter shooting gun with less recoil. It's pretty incredible. And if you want to try before you buy, the Glock store's got you covered. Just buy a sample bullet pack for $6.99, and you can shoot your choice of a C-cut Glock 17, Glock 19, or a Glock 43X. There's a big difference in all the models, but that 43X with a C-cut, man, simply amazing. And don't forget to bring your Glock or just the barrel and the slide. You're going to want to start those 10 days sooner than later. That's only at the Glock store, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere, always open online, glockstore.com. The show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. Hey, Louie. Louie's my producer. Do you know why we would want a water filtration system by any chance? Do you know? Do you know why, Louie?
To have cleaner water, cleaner, fresher water.
No, the Alex Jones, man. You got to play the Alex Jones. We got Congressman John Rose in here, so we got to play a little Alex Jones for fun.
Alex Jones.
You know the one about the frogs? You got to play the frogs, man. This is what happens when Mason's sick. Now we're searching for Alex Jones clips with a congressman in here. Did you remember? You find it? Play for the congressman. Louie's panicking back there because
I see one, but I don't know if it's the right one.
Go for it. Let's see it. Oh, you got to put it on. We can't hear it in here. I can hear it in your room. You can't hear it in here. Why would you need a water filtration system? Hit it. Betterwater.com. How do you feel about fluoride in water, Congressman?
Well, I've seen some of the science on that. You know, I think one of the things that's certain, and my dentist, my longtime dentist who's passed away, sadly, told me this is 10 years ago about how dramatically cavities in children fail once they started fluoridating water. He was old enough to remember before that. So I think we have to look at the science on that. I think we have to get folks outside the government complex to weigh in on the science.
Well, the argument is that you know what else drops? IQ.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and that fluoride's benefits are mainly topical.
Yeah, so I was a ag econ major in college and graduate school, and there's this issue of multicollinearity, right? When you're doing statistical studies, so you can't always just look at is something inversely or directly related to some other factor. You have to figure out, what else is at work, and so we got to be careful about that. We know fluoride does good, could do some bad. There are some studies that say that. I'm a big believer in, bearing down on that. And so I think we should take a hard look at it. I know we have some communities, some municipalities in Tennessee that are pulling the fluoride out of their water.
Is that something that you would support as governor, removing the fluoride?
I think we have to be careful about it. And so I would want to look at it more closely. I've heard the studies, I've seen some of that, but I haven't dug into it in a major way. It's not a responsibility that's been mine, but I think we let some municipalities experiment with that and see what happens.
Cool. We're in with Congressman John Rose. He's running for governor in the state of Tennessee. Marsha Blackburn is also running for governor. She's going to be joining the Matt Murphy show later on this afternoon, but John Rose is here now, and he's willing to answer any question that you may have for him in a segment that we're dubbing Come At Me, Bro. 615-737-9986. Let's start with Jill. Jill on Congressman John Rose. What's up, Jill?
Hey, nothing. How about yourself?
Not much. What questions do you have for the congressman?
Well, I'm not sure it's more of a statement. I worked in the emergency room. I'm a nurse. Worked in Erlanger emergency room for 12 years, full time, and that's our level 1 trauma center in Chattanooga. And as a nurse, I've seen so many more car accidents, so many more injuries, so many more people getting injured with alcohol versus marijuana. And again, my husband's a physician. He'd much rather a patient come in addicted to marijuana than alcohol. I mean, you physically can't be dependent on marijuana as you can, alcohol. And on the same token, you have to understand anything you take in excess is bad for you. I mean, caffeine's a drug, sugar's a drug. I mean, are we going to regulate that and cut that out? I mean, it's just, you see more people doing illegal things trying to get a hold of illegal substances. It'd be the same with alcohol. But if you're going to put a stop to one and not the other, how does that make sense?
Thanks for the call, Jill. I'll be honest with you, Congressman. You're getting hammered on the text line about marijuana. Like, absolutely hammered. Again, 85% of Tennesseans support legalization. Is it too much government if you're getting in the way?
Well, Jill, thank you, first of all, for your perspective and your work as a nurse. We need more people doing what you're doing.
Amen.
And so God bless you for doing that service for humanity. I hear what you're saying. Again, as I said earlier, I don't drink and haven't taken drugs. And I see the ill effects of alcohol. But I think the genie is out of the bottle there. We tried as a country to put it back in the bottle. It didn't work. No pun intended there. But and so I think we just have to decide, do we want to create another problem like that for ourselves? What we know about marijuana, by the way, is it retards brain development as well, and knowledge and learning. And, while excessive alcohol abuse can lead to various other health impacts, I think particularly for our young people, we need to keep them away from this particular drug because of the ill effects that have been documented there.
You can make the same argument for fluoride.
true enough, and we should do that research. And frankly, I think one of the things I would say about Robert Kennedy as Secretary of Health is that I think he has an open mind. He's looking at those things, and I think that's welcome. And I think we should constantly, the founders told us the price of liberty is eternal vigilance, and so we should be, the scientific method said we should always be skeptical about the science in front of us and not accept anything as proven. Continue to be skeptical, and we should apply that.
Congressman John Rose taking your questions. Let's go to Jason in Nashville. What's up, Jason?
Hey, how's it going?
What do you got for John Rose?
I'm going right back to what we've been talking about. Like you said, it's 85% of voters are for it. Are you talking to the other few percent only that are not for it? And are you going to be more for it if the majority of the voters are for it? Or are you just going to continue to not be with it?
If you see polling that does show you 85% of the voters in Tennessee are for it, are you going to direct your policy as governor based on your personal feelings, or are you going to act in favor of the voters?
Sure. Well, so I think one thing I would say is we have a legislature, and the voters of Tennessee get to elect them, and legislation that might be lead to something like this would originate there typically. And so voters, need to speak to their legislators if they want to take Tennessee down this path. I mean, we do have a democratic process. We're not a democracy per se, but we're a republic, but there's a democratic process. And so the voters can speak up. I think if I'm hired to be the governor of Tennessee, I will do everything I can to educate Tennesseans, to expose them to the facts and information that I've been privy to as in the job that I'm in now, and from the research that I've done. And so we need to make sure that the voters are informed and aware of the choices, the implication of the choices that they make.
Let me ask it this way. If a bill came forward, gets through the House, it's passed, voters, it's for marijuana legalization, it gets to your desk. You signing that bill, or are you vetoing that bill?
I would veto that bill based on what I know today.
Okay. Congressman John Rose taking your calls. John and Jackson, you're up next on Super Talk. What's up, John?
Nothing much. We just got a quick question. How are we going to pay for the 8-lane highways that Representative Rose wants to build?
Sure, John, good question, and you ask one of the tough ones. So what I have learned as I visited with Tennesseans all across this state is that there are a handful of issues that Tennesseans everywhere I go talk to me about, and transportation particularly is one of those, infrastructure more broadly, but transportation particularly. And so you raise a very poignant question of how are we going to pay for that. And there are really three ways we can pay for roads in Tennessee. One is a user fee. That's what we have now, the gas tax, some other fees that we apply to electric vehicle owners through registration and other means. We can use general fund revenues. The current governor and legislature have done some of that, transferring money, or we can borrow the money. Of course, the borrowing of money is just bringing forward in time spending, and so then we really revert back to those two choices that we have. If we use a user fee, like the fuel tax, it turns out about a third of the cost of the roads that we pay for that way are paid for by those passing through Tennessee, not Tennesseans. So it's a pretty good deal for Tennesseans if you can get non-Tennesseans to pay for our roads. But we have to have a conversation about that and figure out what we want to do. Where we know we are is that we don't have an adequate transportation system in Tennessee. If you drive the interstates of this state, you know you're going to come to a complete stop multiple times if you travel any distance, and not because of accidents or construction or other temporary stoppages, but because of just the volume on the interstates.
Congestion, yeah.
And so if we want our state to continue to be successful, we've got to address that issue. And it's a hard conversation. I'm just hearing that from Tennesseans. That's what they're telling me.
What's your thoughts on the B&A hole, formerly known as the Music City Loop, that the governor has put in? Do you like that idea? Do you want to see it expanded?
I think anytime you can get private industry to take all the risk, and here I think in almost everywhere I can see you're talking about a private business taking on the financial risk of whether this makes sense or works or not. There could be some public issues here, and we should be careful about that to make sure there aren't some hidden costs or risks for the public at large. But I think we should let private industry help us solve these problems. And so I think this is an excellent example of that. And so I say go, Elon, go.
So you're pro, just for the record, you are pro B&A hole.
Absolutely. I think getting that transportation built is, I mean, you may be
I'm trying to make you say
yeah.
BNA hole because I think it's funny. I think it's a funnier name than the Music City Loop. Joanne in Goodlettsville, you're up next with Congressman John Rose. What do you got, Joanne?
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I just have a quick question regarding if Mr. Rose supports the questionable practices in the Big Lick.
Well, she's talking about the Tennessee walking horse industry, and I think most people who ask that question don't understand the background with Tennessee walking horses.
So break it down for us.
Yeah,
what is the Big Lick? What are the issues?
Yeah, so Tennessee walking horses as a breed were isolated. It was isolated. The genetics of those horses so that they have a particular gait. And that gait is that they tend to kind of favor their back feet as they walk. It makes for a very smooth ride. Anyone who's ever ridden a Tennessee walking horse knows that.
Yeah, Scott Desjardins, when he shows up to vote, it's for Tennessee walking
horses.
horses.
Part of the characteristics of that is that they tend to lift their front feet off the ground, and that's become called the Big Lick when they pick that front foot up way up. That actually occurs naturally in a well-bred Tennessee walking horse. Unfortunately, historically, some unscrupulous breeders who were not as good at isolating that characteristic would look for ways to falsify that, and they would soar the front feet of a Tennessee walking horse so that when it put its foot down, there was a pain reaction. They tend to pop that foot up. But that's a shortcut, and the industry recognized that and have taken steps to alleviate that. And so I think destroying the whole industry and really criticizing a breed when you don't understand what the nature there is. And I just was recently watching a trainer with a colt that was less than 6 months old, lifting its feet magnificently.
Really?
No shoes even on this colt.
That's cool.
And it's just a natural gait, and you need to understand that, and then understand, obviously there are going to be bad actors in anything that any form of human endeavor. We've got to sort those out, and that's what's happening with the walking horse industry.
All right, let's go to Alan in Tennessee. Alan, you got a question for the congressman?
Yes, sir. Congress, first of all, I support you, and I appreciate the messaging on education on that marijuana issue. And after a quick
all right. We don't need to glaze. Just get to the question.
Yeah, no. I'll get to the question. And the question revolves around the whole weed issue. I moved here after 28 years in Las Vegas, and we left there because everywhere you went, they legalized, and it smells like weed in the parking lot everywhere you go. And I want to make sure people understand that if you legalize it, they're not just going to stay in their house. It's going to be everywhere, and it's going to smell.
I mean, I think you could counter that point though with, have you walked down Broadway recently?
Well,
we don't have it legalized here, and you can still smell it the entire time that you walk down Broadway.
But your quality of life here isn't just Broadway; it's the whole state.
Fair
and
enough.
If you want to walk into the parking lot at Kroger and Murfreesboro, it's going to smell like marijuana. People don't like that unless you're into marijuana. So I just want to urge that. Now, my question for you, sir, is since Democrats will put pressure on you, and I've heard these calls from the unions, they'll dangle, hey, we'll give tax money to the schools. That's what they did in Nevada and Las Vegas. And if you give an inch, they take a mile. Will you hold to your firm conservative values? Thank you.
Well, absolutely. I'm a conservative outsider. I would say it's one of the features of me as an applicant to be the next governor of Tennessee that is positive. But I also have been in Congress long enough that I have an established conservative voting record. I have, I would argue, the most conservative record of any of my peers, and certainly, anyone who might be running against me for this next office. And so I'm a principled outside conservative. I'm a fiscal conservative. I'm a social conservative, and I have a record to back that up.
I caught the wink and the nod to your opponent's record. What would you say about your opponent's voting record?
Well, I think it's not as many Tennesseans think, or as it appears. So, I think Tennesseans can do their research, but if you compare our voting records over the period of time that she's been in office versus me, you'll see that I have a much more conservative voting record. That's not me counting.
Right,
that's the outside groups that keep track of this.
Let me channel this let me channel my inner Matt Murphy. We got to feed the baby birds, okay? Not everybody's going to go out there and do their own research. What are some key differences that make you more conservative than Marsha Blackburn?
Sure. Well, so, one of the principal scorekeepers here is Heritage Action, and I have a 99% lifetime voting average.
But scores aside, issues, bills, specific examples.
Well, so just I would say standing up for President Trump's agenda, both when I was in Congress before, when he was in office during Trump 45. My voting record there on issues was to support the president and to support his agenda for restoring the greatness of America. And now that's maybe more in vogue than it was for some back during his first term in office. But I was there. And then I think most notably on January 6th, when all the chips were on the table, I objected to the electoral count in 6 states. And my opponent did not. And I think that's maybe the ultimate differentiator in terms of who's going to support the president, who is for the conservative agenda to restore the greatness of America.
Well, when this audience talks about Marsha Blackburn, that oftentimes comes up, why people don't really appreciate her as much. Anthony in Nashville, you got a question for the congressman.
I do, and my question comes from the perspective of law enforcement. Local municipalities across the state of Tennessee have seen the state increase wages for law enforcement entities within the state. And we've also seen that shared sales tax has not been completely given back to local municipalities. So my question is, would you support the option to return that full shared sales tax back to local municipalities so that they can, in turn, increase wages and hire additional law enforcement that they have lost to the state?
It's a good question.
Absolutely, and thanks for the question. We definitely, I'll start with the easy part of this, is we definitely need to make sure that our law enforcement officers are paid well, whether they be state officers or local officers. God bless those who step forward to serve us and protect us and put themselves, frankly, in harm's way and ultimately put their families essentially at risk of harm from losing them and from having them unable to be breadwinners. So my hat goes off to all those who are the thin blue line. I think the question of how we get revenue for state government and for local and county governments is always going to be a question. Certainly, historically, some of those resources were taken away from local cities, municipalities, and I think we need to be certain that they have revenue sources that can allow them to fulfill their responsibilities. One of the things I think as a conservative is that the best government is the government that's closest to the people. And so cities and counties are a step closer to the people than the state is. Although under our form of government, the state is supreme, is the sovereign here. So our legislature and our governor legislators and our governor have a responsibility to decide how do we prudently help municipalities fulfill their duties to protect the citizenry.
Well, Congressman John Rose, I want to thank you for coming in and answering all the questions in this new segment. Come at me, bro. Just for the record, I had texted John, what was it, like 8 a.m.? And John's like, yeah, I'll come on. And then he's like, I'll come to the studio. So John went out of his way to come down here today and answer your questions. And I think that's top notch, and I appreciate you doing so. With about 30 seconds left, why do I need to vote for Congressman John Rose over Senator Marsha Blackburn for governor of Tennessee?
Well, I'm a Christian conservative outsider, a farmer and a businessman with executive experience that I think equips me to lead our state, or at least be a solid applicant to lead our state. I've learned about being a legislator from my time in Congress, but I think the thing that really differentiates me is that I've signed the front side of a paycheck. I've managed businesses. I've built organizations, managed people, find a way to get them in the right seat on the bus. So I have that experience. I wouldn't be looking for on-the-job experience. I would come in ready to roll up my sleeves, work hard. I'm not looking for a retirement job. I'm not looking to add another trophy on my mantle. I'm not looking to take time off. I'm looking to come home, roll up my sleeves, and take on what I believe will be the hardest job of my life.
Congressman John Rose, I appreciate the time. Where can we find you online and learn more?
JohnRose.com.
JohnRose.com. It's 11:56. Thank you, Congressman Rose, and good luck in the race. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.